Straight out the sauna. That's today for Rauta, because what we have here is a Finnish band with a classic Finnish album, Legions of Perkele by Barathrum. So it's challenging the classics time here in Rauta. Very Finnish mindset. It's just suitable to have straight out the sauna here. And me, that's why I'm operating shirtless, in case you're wondering. No, I didn't have the time or will to put some clothes on. It's Finnish mentality, nudity, and, well, all that stuff with sauna and beer, of course. Well, I don't have beer, but I don't have any excuse for that. Anyway, we're going to talk about some classic Finnish black metal. And Barathrum is one of those four names that pretty much started the whole Finnish black metal thing. I mean, there was Beherit, there was Impel Nazarene, there was Barathrum, and there was Archgoat. Those four names were basically the bands that pretty much started the whole Finnish black metal thing, early 90s. Some even late 80s, but pretty much the change of the decade was the era when things started to happen here in Finland. And Legions of Perkele just happens to be one of the most famous, one of the most respected albums by the band. Fourth album after a few years already in the making. I mean, in the business, not so much album in the making, but yeah, it's one of those albums that people talk about over the others. And as it seems to be, interestingly, Legions of Perkele seems to be the second highest rated album on Metal Archives based on multiple review scores. I mean, if you take a look here, it's pretty much goes from percentage like 70 to 93. And even the couple of early ones are around 80, give or take. But Legions of Perkele goes as far as 91 with 3 ratings. Interestingly enough, I think that alone tells you a lot how this album is like. But before we go into the details of the album and the music of the album, it's time to take a little bit of a look at the whole deal here, in case you have just missed Barathrum altogether. I mean, the band was started in 1991. Anyway, with this name. So it's 30th anniversary for the band. Very fitting for a Challenging the Classic reviews, of course. And if you take a look at these early years, there were lots of demos. That's how things were back in the days when bands actually created demos and demos and demos and then started doing albums. Not just doing albums right away, as so many younger bands these days. And then they're wondering why the heck they get so bad review scores. I mean, if you don't rehearse, if you don't challenge yourself with demos and stuff, that's how things are kind of bound to do. Anyway, it took a few years before Hailstorm, the debut album, came out. Followed very quickly by Eerie, but basically, more or less, I guess they were around the same time. And then Infernal a couple of years later, and only a year later, Legions of Perkele. And if you take a look at this, Satana only not 1 year later, Occult, once again, a year later, 2 years span for Vananas, and then it started to slow down. I mean, you kind of see the change of pattern here, 3 years, and then more than 10 years, 12 years in total before Fanatico got released. Pretty decent album, by the way. I got to review it very fresh when it came out. But also the funny thing is, you know, during this era from Hailstorm 1995 to Venomous 2002, but not only the band was very active in terms of recording albums, but they were very much on the top of their game, you know, getting respect from the scene, from the fans all around the world. And also, they didn't have compilations or splits or anything like that. Only a single and a demo between these full-length albums. So they were very much an album-focused band in so many ways. But what also makes this band rather unique, besides the obvious thing, music, is that they have also had this kind of a lineup, which is very interesting in one particular matter. 3 bass players. Basically, the band operates around Devana Sova, the founder of the band, the father of the band, the sound and vocals of the band. But besides he being the bass dude and handling the vocals, he's, you know, handling the vocals on stage. And then there are 2 bass players. That is not very common, but having like 3 bass players, and this is not the only one, this current lineup, makes his band very interesting. But we're here to talk about Legions of Perkele and not the whole history of the band. That would take a lot of time, and I have actually interviewed the band some 3 years ago, so in case you want to hear what Mr. Sova has to say, you can pretty much tune for that after this review. That is, if you find this band interesting in the first place and haven't really taken time to look at that interview. So we go all the way to 1998. And that's when this album came out, and has 13 tracks with some 42 minutes. Now, I really liked this album a lot. Back in the days, this was the Barathrum album for me. And many years I kind of figured out this would be the album for Barathrum. Like every band has those kind of albums which you kind of compare the others, and that is the peak moment. And for a lot of years, I thought that Legion of Perkele is like the one you really can't beat in its own game, that is. Other bands, surely, but Barathrum couldn't be able to kind of top it. Because, I mean, it has really great tracks. Revenge by Magic, right after the intro. Then you have Angel Burner, you have Last Day in Heaven, and you have War Metal. You know, those really kind of a classic Barathrum tracks. Something that really kind of not only nails the feeling of the band, but also are just catchy and kind of vicious songs, even though this is not a band that boasts with its speed, blast beats and whatever. I mean, one of the interesting things, in my opinion, with Barathrum has always been how they are able to do such interesting music with, handling mostly around mid-tempo, even slow-tempo tracks. They have never been about speed. They have always been about this kind of a vicious feeling, yet at the same time lots of bass things going on, and interesting riffs, much bass-dominated ones, mind you, and also the vocals of Sova. Now, in the big picture, we could say Sova is not that, unique vocalist. He is powerful and he has this kind of a raspy voice for sure, but nothing out of ordinary, basically. That is not to say it's a bad thing. It's just like, that is not the defining thing of the band. I mean, the voice of the band. But what is the use of these bass guitars, how they dominate even some of the songs. And that's what is going on with this album quite a lot. I mean, if you really pay attention what the guitars are doing and what the bass are doing, and I say bass as plural because, you have actually a couple of bass players and there are interesting bass lines going on. I don't know how it was recorded, but I feel like it's multitude of bass. The amount of bass on this album is just like, alone with this album could be the amount of multiple other black metal albums. And this would still be like, hey, this is the amount of bass that is gonna do the trick here. Also, this album boasts with a great production. It's very solid, it's thick, it's kind of clear and crisp, but it's not like overly produced. It's very strong and makes sense a lot of ways for Barathrum. It is a strong, good production and very much supports the music here. But now this mid-tempo black metal, which has kind of a groove riffs, has these bass guitar parts, and has these Sova vocals. What is the good stuff and what is the bad stuff in the terms of challenging the classics? Now, like I said, I used to think this was the album. Not so much anymore. I was kind of refreshing my memory because I sold or traded away this album so many years ago. I don't know when or to whom or exactly why. But like always, there is a reason why I get rid of something. And it's not because this is a bad album. More importantly, this album boasts with quite a few very good ones, but it's more about fillers than killers, unfortunately. And this round of spinning the album kind of reminded me of that. But like I said, after the intro, which is kind of skippable, it starts with one of the best tracks of the album, Revenge by Magic. By this time you're already like, yeah, this is gonna be a killer. And when it's backed up by Angel Burner, you're like, okay, that is certainly something phenomenal. I mean, it's strong and powerful album with great riffs and kind of a showing like, we don't kid here, we're here to conquer. But something happens. Dog Sorceress, too long a song, which is only like, okay. It kind of like makes you lose a little bit of a faith. But then Last Day in Heaven comes there like a curveball, scores, and you're like, okay, 3-1, yeah, we're nailing it. Barathrum is really killing it. Legions of Perkele, fuck yeah. By the time you are like midway through, maybe A-side, you kind of start to understand that this is half good and half okay. I mean, songs like The Force of Evil, Necromancer Ritual, which is repeating itself way too much. You're like, okay, we have two really good songs, or well, three really good songs, and three okay songs, plus an intro. Then starts the kind of last part, and you kind of figure out, maybe it's gonna pick up. You go through Salubella, okay, Legions of Perkele, okay, and you go these pauses, and through the deep from the depths, and you're like, okay, it's not, the magic is not happening anymore. Until War Metal comes back and like crushes you once again. It kind of saves the day because the ending is so good. But then you kind of go for another round and you figure out, okay, it starts strongly, it ends strongly, and there is one track in the middle that is strong. It's like supporting pillars of a bridge. Here, 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 and here. But between, it feels like you're going down, only to come back up and go down. And only to come back for once more, that is for War Metal. These are the iconic tracks, especially War Metal and Last Day in Heaven. But they don't have the power to carry through the whole album. Revenge by Magic and Angel Burner help a lot. They might even be better tracks, but doesn't save you for the very moments when the album is only okay. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's mediocre at its worst, but it's goddamn close to it. But at its best, it's really a great album. Now, if only this was done in a MCD EP format, I would say this is goddamn close to, not perfection, but real greatness. These 4 tracks, in my opinion, are really good ones, and I feel like I can't get enough of them. But they are not able to save the whole album from the feeling that this is a hit and miss album in so many ways. Like, I don't even remember those tracks when times go by, except for the better ones. I mean, I can't just forget Last Day in Heaven or War Metal. But, like I said, that is not enough to make this a real great album. So for me, 91%. Sorry to say, for me this is more like 7 out of 10. Because 4 tracks real good, maybe around the 9 out of 10, or at least 8.5 out of 10. And then you have songs which are more like 6 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 for me. I mean, as much as I try to make this album to feel a really good one, I feel it's done with fillers and killers. And they take their turns. And eventually, that kind of explains why I get rid of this album. Like I said, every now and then when I give this a go, it's pretty okay. But giving it multiple spins, it kind of emphasizes the feeling I was already having. This is not as good as, my memory would have been telling me. The best, Barathrum, not so much, not anymore anyway. But still, definitely a decent album all in all. Like I said, hits and misses, and even those misses are not that bad. They're just kind of fillers, maybe even skippable ones. But those 4 tracks, they say a lot, even if not the whole deal here. So definitely an album worth listening to, definitely an album worth giving a lot of shots in a way, but the best Barathrum album? No. Eventually, no. Interesting release, however, and definitely one of those milestone or landmark albums in Finnish black metal history. All the way from 1998. Definitely deserving a classic status, even if I'm not the biggest fan of it. Not anymore anyway. Give it a go, and I hope you enjoy it. And like I said, if you have missed my Barathrum interviews from 3 years ago, give it a shot. It's worth your time. I can pretty much guarantee it. Take care, and bye-bye.